Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while, and I am truly sorry for that, but I'm here to explain and hopefully you can understand, or at the very least, hear my story. I want you to imagine for a second that dream you have. The dream of what you want to be, what you want to do in your life. Whether that's inventing something new, starting your own business, or just living happily. Imagine you work so hard to achieve this dream. You study, you work, you train, you make sacrifices over and over again in hopes to make that dream a reality. And you push because that's what you do when you want something. You push through the long nights, the tiredness, the hunger, the pain. You push through it all because all your life you've been told that good things only come to people who are willing to make it happen. So no matter how much it hurts, you push through. And then one day, you can't walk. You can barely use your arms anymore, and everything you worked so hard for comes crashing down around you. And the dream you had slips further and further away. That's what happened to me, in a very dramatic, show-telly way. Basically, what happened was I broke my body. In my very last year, mainly my last semester in college, I was very stressed and under extreme pressure. The industry that I was going in was striking and going up in flames. I needed to make my thesis, which was a trailer for my biggest project ever. And I was also the first of my siblings to graduate and the first of my family to ever go to a brick and mortar college. So failure wasn't an option. And I will say I technically did not fail. I'll give myself that. I got my degree and I graduated. But it didn't really help the rest of the things. In that last semester, I went really hard in my work. I was pushing myself to the brink and beyond. I was studying animation, so I drew a lot because animation is a bunch of pictures just smashed together to make a movie. And when you get into drawing and want to pursue it as a career, your hands become your most important tool. You can't work without them, so it's important to take care of them. And I'm gonna say this again. It's important to take care of them. But when deadlines come and you're scared about your future, you tend to ignore warning signs just to get through what you need to get through, which is what I did. Tendinitis and sprains aren't something new to me. I get them every so often from drawing too much and forgetting to stretch, or just sometimes by moving my hand wrong. So when the familiar pain rolls around, I know the drill. You rest, ice, elevate, simple. But that's hard to do when you have a thesis due that could make or break your entire career, and 4 other classes on top of that, which also need your attention and creativity. And I am not one to give up, even if I really, really want to. I will push myself past the breaking point before I give up. So when the pain rolled around, I ignored it. Because I knew what to do, I just couldn't do it at the time. So I would just push through, and then in a few months it would all be over. Only, it wasn't. See, this pain was a little different, and it wasn't just in my wrist. It had started going all the way up my arm, and then after a while, it started spreading to my left arm as well. And it actually got so bad that it was difficult for me to swallow food because my throat was so swollen. Did that stop me? No, because I'm an idiot. And after I graduated, I could barely hold a drawing pen and much less draw, so I couldn't go into storyboarding like I wanted to, which really sucked. Not only that, but this was also the height of the Animation Guild and the SAG-AFTRA strike, so not a lot of jobs were available in the first place. So I ended up getting myself a job at a coffee shop, which was actually my favorite job I've ever worked so far. The people were nice, majority of the customers were nice, I got to talk to people and make their days better with a simple cup of coffee. But my pain never went away, and in fact, it got worse. A lot worse. See, the coffee shop I worked at was very famous, worldwide kind of franchise, so there were a lot of people always. I was always moving and never got a chance to rest or sit, which hurt. And on top of that, I'm an insomniac and have trouble sleeping. So I would go to bed at like 1 a.m. only to wake up at 3 for a shift at 4, almost every other day. So that was not helping me. Eventually, the pain had spread over my entire body, down my leg. It was causing me to go blind, lose my hearing. I was dizzy and nauseous all of the time, with no explanation other than I was in pain and not resting. It had actually gotten so bad that my manager suggested I go on leave because I was having to call out of work, switch my shifts, and generally couldn't do my job very well because of how inhibiting it was. So I went on leave and was working with my doctor to figure out what was going on, which has been a pain in my behind because by this point in the timeline, I had been in consistent, excruciating pain for over a year. Over a year. And I was convinced that I had severed a nerve or something, but we did a bunch of testing and nothing came out of it. We couldn't find anything, but I knew that something was wrong. And when I had gone on to leave, everything got worse because my body was finally able to slow down. Since I wasn't consistently running and pushing the pain away, it finally caught up to me, and my god, it was horrible. All of my joints hurt. It hurt to breathe, it hurt to blink, it hurt to do basically anything. And I was actually starting to have mild panic attacks every night because I would have to go to sleep, and sleeping at night was the worst because you had to just lie there with the pain, and it hurt so bad. And working with my doctor was like pulling teeth because at some point he just stopped taking me seriously and had literally told me that it was all in my head and that he exhausted all his resources and basically gave up on me, which was hard. Because not only was I in pain with no explanation, but I was in danger of losing my job, which I actually did end up losing because my doctor wouldn't help me, and I was doing it pretty much alone. And on top of all of that, my dreams of creating were slipping further and further away. When I had gone on leave, I had also gotten a Fitbit, one of those watch things, because I knew I was having some weird heart rates, but I never tracked them before, so I didn't have any solid evidence. But with the Fitbit, it turns out that my resting heart rate would sometimes reach 160 beats per minute. And for reference, a normal resting heart rate should be in the range of 60 to 90. It turns out that I have something called postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or POTS. It's a condition basically where your heart rate changes when your position changes. So when you're laying down, you tend to have a normal heart rate, but when you sit up or you stand, your heart rate jumps up, which can be very dangerous because it can also cause your blood pressure to drop and you can faint, and a plethora of other symptoms. So I brought it up to my doctor, we did some more testing, and I got an official diagnosis. I was sent around to a few different doctors, and I also ended up getting a diagnosis for fibromyalgia, which is kind of like widespread pain. Both of these conditions are chronic, meaning they are always active and always there, and they are not going away, but I can maintain them. Currently, that is still very difficult for me. Most activities wipe me out and KO me. Just the other day, I went to a friend's house to play a board game, and it left me on the couch clutching a pillow till I eventually passed out. And it's not because I'm a sore loser. I'm also in the process of getting another diagnosis for functional neurological disorder, or FND, which is a condition that deals with the signals in the brain. There are basically two parts of the nervous system: the actual pathways and the messages. FND deals with the messages, so my nerve pathways are fine, but the messages are getting mixed up. And unfortunately, there is also no way to fix that. You just have to retrain your brain on how to do things, and for me, it's walking. I have a lot of trouble walking, and I've even started using a cane and a rolling walker just to get around. So that's what I've been doing this whole time I've been gone, and it's scary, to say the least. I have no job at the moment, and I can't even apply for financial help because my doctor keeps fighting me, saying that my condition shouldn't be disabling when I literally cannot walk. However, I am keeping my hopes high because you can't keep a workhorse down, and I have been busy. If you follow me on other platforms, you might know what I'm going to talk about, but if you don't, surprise! I have opened an online store. You can buy stickers and prints. The link will be down below and also in my Linktree. This is the first time I've ever run a store, so there's going to be some kinks to work out, but go check it out if you would like to. There's a bunch of designs. I have like 36 different ones, prints and stickers, and more will be coming. And that's not all, because upon the realization that my dreams were crumbling around me and I wouldn't be able to storyboard or likely animate like I used to, I turned to writing. And I have written the first runes of a fantasy book titled The Trident Tournament. I am so excited. I have a bunch to share with you on that, so I will be making more videos later on, and I will try my absolute best not to spoil anything. I also started a Tumblr to post things there as well. I have 2 more projects that were started, but I won't talk about those yet. I'm gonna save them till they have a little bit more meat on their bones. But this whole process has been really, really challenging. I have learned a lot about myself through this. I basically had to stare at myself and all the open wounds that I'd been covering up and actually tend to them. And it's not perfect, but I am getting better, and I'm patient with myself, and I'm healing. I don't really know what my life is going to look like or what the future has in store for me. I can't do storyboarding like I had planned to, but I have gone back to school for creative writing and journalism, so I've been taking classes and just trying to expand my skills the best I can. Creating is something that I will never stop doing, and even though it's been a while, and even though I can't make any guarantees, I hope that you will join me and continue to hear my stories and see my work. I've still been drawing, and I can do illustrations, they just take a little bit longer than before. But I do have a massive backlog of art that I need to talk about. And I have been reading, and I have some books that I want to talk about, so I might start doing some reviews and video essays on top of some of just my art. I'm not exactly sure what I'll do yet, but I'll figure it out. I just don't want this to stop me. It's felt for a very long time that I just watched my future slip away from me, and I don't want to feel like that anymore. So if you want to support me, the best way that you can do that is here on the channel, or if you want some art, buy something from my shop. Everything sold will go into funding the editing and publication costs for Runes of a Fantasy. And if art isn't your thing, or it's just I just don't have something that you like yet, then you can always support me on Patreon. I'm posting there more regularly and talking about my stories and giving updates. If you want, you can see most of the content for free, or I do have paid tiers starting at $1. I'm not trying to pressure anyone though. If you just watch or listen, then that's all I could really ask for. And to ensure you that I'm here for the long haul, I am also currently working on the second Runes book, currently titled The Flight of the Fearless. So I hope that you follow along and be a part of this with me and join everyone who has helped me this far. Going through this has made me feel so alone, and I cannot tell you how many nights I spent just lying in my bed with the pain, and it's not like that anymore. I want to build something, not just for myself, but for you too. I want a team again. I want to be collaborative and do cool things to inspire and also be inspired. Wherever you are, whoever you are, that's what I've always wanted. I wanted to help others feel not so alone. So if you want to join me on this journey and see wherever it ends up taking us, then click the subscribe button. Leave a comment, say hi, tell me about a project you're excited you're working on. I really want to build something with the rubble, you know? And I am really excited for what it's gonna look like because I have no idea. And that used to scare me, and it still does. But more than anything, I'm excited. And I'm happy. Well, I've been recording for a bit and it's starting to hurt sitting here, so I'm going to say thank you so much for watching and for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye!